At family dinner, my dad declared my brother was the provider of the family. So I let everyone know who's really been paying the bills. When I was growing up, there was always an unspoken rule in our house: my older brother, Ethan, could do no wrong. He was the golden child from the moment he took his first steps. He was the athlete, the charmer, the one who had potential. I, on the other hand, was the quiet, steady one, the one who didn't make waves. I studied, worked, helped around the house, and apparently faded into the background while doing it. That dynamic never really changed, even as adults. Ethan's the kind of guy who posts motivational quotes about grind culture on Instagram while borrowing money from anyone who will lend it. My parents always rush to defend him. He's just figuring things out, my mom says. He's under a lot of pressure, my dad adds. Meanwhile, I'm the one they call when the Wi-Fi breaks, when they need their taxes done, or when they want to brag about how well both sons turned out. So last week, we had one of those family dinners that only happen because my mom insists it's been too long. Ethan arrived 20 minutes late, wearing designer sneakers and a smug grin. He immediately launched into a story about his new business venture, which, judging by the way he described it, sounded like an MLM for crypto. We all sat down. My parents were glowing, laughing at every joke he cracked, passing him the first servings of everything. It was nauseatingly predictable. Then, midway through the meal, my dad put down his fork, cleared his throat, and said, "I just want to take a moment to acknowledge something. Ethan, you've always been the provider of this family. You're the one who steps up when it matters. You're a true man." The table erupted in applause. My mom actually teared up. My younger sister clapped like she was watching a movie. I just sat there for a second, blinking. Provider? The man who couldn't even pay his own car insurance without borrowing from me. I leaned back, took a sip of my drink, and said, calm as ever, "That's great to hear, Dad. Then he shouldn't have any problem taking care of the $8,700 balance on the credit card I've been paying off for him the past 2 years." The room went silent. Ethan froze mid-laugh, his smile vanishing. My mom looked like she'd seen a ghost. My dad's face turned red. Ethan stammered, What are you talking about?" I shrugged. "You remember that card you opened in my name, just for convenience? The one you promised to pay off every month but somehow didn't. I've been covering the minimum payments so it wouldn't hit collections. So yeah, since you're the provider, I guess you can handle it now." He sputtered, "That's not, you said you'd help me out." "I said I'd help, not sponsor your lifestyle," I shot back. You could hear a pin drop. Even my sister had stopped pretending to eat. My dad finally said, "This isn't the time or place, Daniel." "Oh, I think it is," I said, still calm. "You just called him the provider in front of everyone. Seems like a perfect time to clear up the confusion." Ethan tried to laugh it off, muttering something about business expenses, but I wasn't done. "Also, remember the time his car got repossessed, and I paid the tow yard to get it back? Or when he moved into that condo and couldn't make rent for the first 2 months, and I covered that too? Yeah. Real provider behavior right there." My mom looked at Ethan. "Is that true?" she whispered. He said nothing. Then I turned to my dad. "You've spent my entire life praising him for doing the bare minimum, while I've been the one holding things together behind the scenes. You never noticed because you didn't want to. But I'm done paying for your golden boy's mistakes." I stood up, dropped my napkin on the plate, and said, "Dinner's on the provider tonight, right?" Then I walked out. The fallout was immediate. My phone blew up within the hour. My mom texted, "You embarrassed your brother in front of everyone. That was cruel." I replied, "Cruel is letting me drown in his debt while you call him a hero." My dad sent a single message. "We'll talk when you calm down." I didn't respond. But Ethan? Oh, he went nuclear. He posted some cryptic nonsense on Facebook about fake family and jealous energy, clearly aimed at me. His comments were full of his buddies hyping him up, none of whom knew the truth. Then, a week later, I got an email from the credit card company confirming full payment of the balance, by Ethan. I guess the reality check finally landed. I haven't been invited to another family dinner since. Apparently, I ruined the mood. My mom's trying to guilt me into making peace, but I told her peace doesn't involve being a silent wallet. For the first time in years, I feel lighter. They wanted a provider. They have one. Just not me anymore. It's been about 8 months since the dinner. The one where I dropped the $8,700 truth bomb and watched the family provider turn purple in front of our parents. For a while after that night, there was peace, or rather, silence. My family group chat died overnight. My mom still texted occasionally, "Hope you're doing well," but my dad stayed radio silent. Ethan blocked me on every social platform, which I considered a blessing. I figured we could all just live separate lives and maybe, finally, stop pretending. Then, a few weeks ago, the peace shattered with one phone call. It was a Saturday morning. I was finishing coffee when my mom's name popped up on my phone. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Daniel," she said, her voice tight, "can you come over? It's important." When I asked what was wrong, she hesitated. Then she sighed. "It's your brother. He's in trouble." When I arrived, my parents looked like they'd aged 10 years. Ethan was sitting on the couch, pale and exhausted. His once expensive clothes looked worn out. My dad gestured for me to sit. "Your brother's business partner ran off. Took most of their investors' money. Now people are threatening to sue." Ethan rubbed his face. "I don't know what to do, man. I'm screwed." I'll admit, a small, dark part of me thought, karma's right on schedule. But I bit my tongue. Mom jumped in quickly. "He just needs a little help getting back on his feet, Daniel. Maybe a short-term loan. You've always been good with money." There it was. The same pattern, playing out again. The golden boy burns down the house, and I'm expected to rebuild it. I looked at Ethan. "How much?" He mumbled, "About 15,000. I laughed, not mockingly, just disbelief. 15,000. After what happened last time? Dad frowned. "We're family. We help each other." "Funny," I said, "because that help always seems to go one direction." Ethan tried to play the victim. "I didn't plan for this to happen, all right? I'm trying. I just need some support until I can get things straight." I stood up. "You know what support means in this family? Me cleaning up your mess while everyone claps for you. Not anymore." My mom looked like she might cry. "Daniel, please. We can't just let him drown." "You didn't care when I was drowning," I said. "You only noticed me when I was useful." I turned to leave, but Ethan grabbed my arm. "Don't walk out on me, man. Please." I pulled free. "You walked out on responsibility a long time ago. Now you get to live with that." A week later, the text started coming. Not just from my parents, but from extended family. My aunt wrote, "Your brother's always been there for you. Don't turn your back now." Which was hilarious, considering Ethan once missed my college graduation because he was hungover from a networking event. Then came my dad's message. "We don't want to take sides, but you're being cold. He's still your brother." I replied. "You took sides years ago. I'm just stepping out of the game." 3 weeks later, Ethan texted me himself. It wasn't an apology, it was a pitch. He said he'd learned from his mistakes and was starting fresh. A new business opportunity, red flag number 1, legit investors this time, red flag number 2, and just needed a little startup capital, red flag number 3. I didn't even respond. Then came the twist. My mom called again, crying this time. Daniel, your father co-signed a loan for Ethan. He didn't tell me until now. They're coming after the house. I closed my eyes. Of course. Because why wouldn't the provider need rescuing again? Apparently, Ethan's business had taken out a large personal loan with my dad as guarantor. When the business failed, the collectors came knocking. My dad, the same man who declared Ethan the man of the family, was now on the verge of losing everything because of him. A week later, my parents showed up at my apartment. No warning. My mom brought cookies like this was some sitcom reconciliation. My dad looked tired. He said, "Son, I made a mistake. Your brother's not who I thought he was." It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever heard. Then he added, "But we could use some help figuring out the finances." There it was again. The trap, wrapped in humility this time. I looked at him for a long moment and said quietly, "Dad, I love you. But every time I bail this family out, it costs me something: money, peace, self-respect. I can't keep paying the price for your favoritism." He didn't argue. He just nodded, slowly, as if realizing something for the first time. Mom started crying again. Ethan wasn't there, apparently. He'd skipped town to figure things out. That was 2 months ago. I haven't heard from Ethan since. My parents are trying to sell the house to cover the debt. I offered to help them with the paperwork, not the money, just the logistics, and they accepted quietly. For once, my dad didn't call Ethan for advice. He called me. And maybe that's progress. Last week, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Ethan. "Hey. I'm sorry for everything. You were right. I messed up. I'm trying to fix it." I stared at it for a long time before typing. "I hope you do. But this time, you'll have to fix it without me." He never replied. Sometimes, I think about that dinner, the applause, the praise, the blind devotion, and I realize something: my family didn't need a provider. They needed someone willing to tell the truth. And finally, after years of silence, I did. 3 years after I exposed my golden child brother, he showed up at my door, and this time, I didn't slam it. It's been 3 years since the night everything fell apart. 3 years since my father's proud declaration that Ethan was the provider of the family. 3 years since the debt, the shouting, the silence, and the slow crumble of everything that used to look like family. A lot changed since then. My parents sold the old house and moved into a smaller place. They've mellowed, my dad especially. The pride, the endless excuses for Ethan, it all burned out after the loan fiasco. He never said it out loud, but I think the guilt aged him. Mom still tries to believe that Ethan will turn things around someday, but even she doesn't sound convinced anymore. As for me, I moved cities. Got a better job. Bought a small apartment that actually feels like mine. No one calls asking for just a little help anymore. My life has been peaceful. Until 2 months ago, when someone knocked on my door. It was late evening. I was halfway through reheating leftovers when I heard it, 3 hesitant knocks. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, I froze. Ethan. He looked nothing like the man I remembered. He'd always been loud, confident, the type to wear expensive cologne and a smug smile. But the person standing there looked tired. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes hollow. He'd lost weight, maybe too much. "Hey," he said quietly. "Can I come in?" For a moment, I didn't move. Every old instinct screamed no. But something, maybe pity, maybe curiosity, made me step aside. He sat on the edge of my couch like he wasn't sure he was allowed to touch it. We sat in silence for a while. Then he said, "I know I've got no right to ask you for anything. I just wanted to see you." I crossed my arms. "You didn't drive 3 hours just to see me, Ethan. What's going on?" He sighed. "You're right. I need to talk. Not about money, I swear. I just need you to hear me out." So I did. He told me everything. After he disappeared, he'd bounced between a few cities, trying to reinvent himself. More business ideas. More failures. More debts. He said at one point he was living out of his car, delivering food just to survive. He tried calling Mom and Dad, but they didn't answer. He'd burned that bridge completely. "Dad told me not to come back until I was a different man," Ethan said, voice cracking. "I didn't know what that meant back then. I do now." He looked down at his hands. "I lost everything because I thought I was owed something. That everyone should believe in me, no matter how many times I failed them. But you were the only one who ever told me the truth. I hated you for it. But you were right." It was strange hearing those words. I didn't feel triumphant. Just tired. He stayed for about an hour. We talked, really talked, for the first time in years. About Mom and Dad, about the mess we'd all made, about growing up in a house where love was unevenly distributed. He didn't make excuses. Didn't ask for forgiveness. Just said he was trying to be better. He'd gotten a regular job, warehouse work, night shifts, nothing glamorous, but steady. He said it felt good to actually earn something for once. Before he left, he asked, "Do you think they'll ever forgive me?" I said honestly, "I don't know. But it starts with you forgiving yourself." He nodded, then said, "I'm clean now. No scams, no debts. I'm just trying to live like a real person. I just needed to tell you that." And then he was gone. A few weeks later, I told my parents. Mom cried instantly. Dad was quiet, his eyes distant. After a long silence, he said, "If he's really changed, he knows where we live." That was it. But something shifted after that. My dad started calling Ethan, short conversations at first, cautious. Then longer ones. My mom mailed him some old photos. Slowly, painfully, a thread of connection started weaving itself back together. 2 months later, I got another knock on my door. This time it was my parents. They'd come to visit me for the weekend, and to my surprise, they'd brought someone with them. Ethan. It was awkward, yes, but not hostile. He helped Dad carry bags from the car. Mom fussed over him like no time had passed. For the first time in maybe 20 years, it felt like everyone was standing on the same ground. Over dinner, Ethan looked at me and said, "I still remember what you said, about truth being the only thing this family ever needed. You were right about that too." Dad actually smiled at me then, a small, proud smile. The kind I used to think he only saved for Ethan. Later that night, when everyone was asleep, Ethan and I sat on the balcony. He said, "You know what the worst part was? Not losing the money. Not the job. It was realizing how easy it was for me to believe I was the good guy, even when I was destroying everything around me." He looked out at the city lights and added, "You didn't ruin our family, Danny. You saved it." It just took me a few years to see that. I didn't know what to say. So I just nodded. Sometimes silence says enough. He left the next morning, heading back to his town. Before he got into the car, he said, "Next time, I'll bring my girlfriend. She wants to meet everyone. And don't worry, I'm paying for dinner." We both laughed. It wasn't a full redemption, and it didn't erase what happened. But for the first time in a long, long while, I felt like we weren't pretending anymore. And that, more than any apology or money, was worth everything. Final part, the last family test. It happened 5 years after Ethan showed up at my door. Dad passed away quietly in his sleep. No drama, no shouting, just the end of the man who had always played favorites. Mom called me first. She sounded fragile but relieved. She asked me to come over to handle things with Ethan. When I arrived, Ethan was already there. He looked older, calmer. No smugness, no theatrics, just him, quietly holding a photo of Dad. We went through the estate. Surprisingly, Dad had left everything in trust for both of us, equally. No golden child, no special favors. Just fairness. Ethan turned to me. I know we've had our past. I just want to say thanks. You taught me responsibility, whether you meant to or not. I nodded. We learned from each other, in the end. That night, we shared a quiet dinner with Mom. No applause, no favoritism, just the three of us, finally on equal footing. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And sometimes, real is enough.